On behalf of the Board of Directors and members of the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, I wish to express our appreciation to the government through its Ministry of Finance once again for the invitation to not only attend, but also to play an active part in this year's national consultation on the economy. The Chamber is of the view, which we suspect the government is also, that the inclusion of the private sector in the development of policies in any country makes its implementation much easier and more effective. We are therefore confident that the Ministry of Finance and the government at large will continue to consider our suggestions, input, and concerns and make them an integral component of the government's budgetary process. The St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce appreciates and places a high value on the working relationship that exists between the private and public sectors. This relationship is based on mutual respect, honesty, openness, and a strong and genuine desire to see our country prosper. The Chamber and the government appreciates that it is to our mutual benefit, and indeed to that of our beloved country, that we continue to strengthen that relationship with regular consultations and communication. We know that when the private sector does well, the government does better because of increased revenue collection through taxes, duties, increased employment, and the continued economic growth. With the rapid expansion in global trade and business, we think the theme chosen for this national consultation on the economy is highly relevant: the digital economy. My knowledge of the technicalities and intricacies related to the digital economy is limited. However, I know of its importance to the private sector and to the government in providing an environment that is conducive for attracting trade, business, and investment. This is extremely important to the private sector if we are to continue to provide employment, pay taxes, and continue to be the engine of growth for our economy. What is the digital economy? In conducting the research for my brief remarks, I found this definition by the consulting firm Deloitte. It's the economic activity that results from billions of everyday online connections among people, businesses, devices, data, and processes. The backbone of the digital economy is hyperconnectivity, which means growing interconnectedness of people, organizations, and machines that results from the internet, mobile technology, and the Internet of Things. Deloitte went on to say that the digital economy is taking shape and undermining conventional notions about how businesses are structured, how firms interact, and how consumers obtain services, information, and goods. In my research, I also found the following quote by a Walter Brenner of the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland, and he says, I quote, "The aggressive use of data in transforming business models, facilitating new products and services, creating new processes, generating greater utility, and ushering in a new culture of management." What exactly does this say to us? My interpretation is that the rapid pace at which global businesses are transforming tells me that businesses with a myopic view, regardless of where they are located in this world, will die. We must be brutally honest about the world we live in. We are an independent country, the smallest in the Western Hemisphere. We are in the category of a high-income country, and our per capita income was over US $18,000 in 2018 and expected to increase further in 2019. This is according to the World Bank. This means that we are expected to compete on the global stage for attracting business and remaining in business, like all other countries in our category. This means that we must ensure that we operate in a manner that fits the status that we are in, and that includes how we manage our businesses and indeed our public sector. We see what the digital economy has created in recent times. According to TechCrunch, a digital economy news site, Uber, the world's largest taxi company, owns no vehicles. Facebook, the world's most popular media owner, creates no content. Alibaba, the most valuable retailer, has no inventory. And Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, owns no real estate. Then we move to the other side of the spectrum with what Amazon has done to the business world. All of us here this morning have been impacted by Amazon in some shape or form. We are aware that in St. Kitts and Nevis, there are over 10 courier service providers. These developments affect us directly or indirectly. We are aware of small businesses that have had to close their doors because their customers established Amazon and courier accounts and no longer went into their store, but instead chose to stay in the warmth and comfort of their home and shop online. This indeed is the reality of the environment within which our private and public sectors are operating. Clearly, there is no turning back. We just have to adapt. The government has a major role to play by being current in its ICT policies, including updated and relevant legislation and regulation, which of course does not impede trade and business, facilitating the provision of the necessary infrastructure, and I speak specifically of bandwidth, ensuring competitive price of telecoms and other ICT, improved human resources, including the production of high-quality graduates from our respective education service providers. Equally important are issues relating to cybercrime and cybersecurity. This is global in nature and requires tremendous resources to continuously attempt to reduce incidences of cybercrimes. Cybersecurity is extremely important to the private sector, whether it is in banking and finance, tourism, transportation, trading goods and services, etc. There must be collaboration between the private sector and governments regionally and globally to address this major challenge. The private sector must continue to invest in the technology that will make them more efficient in what they do. This is the only way they can compete locally, regionally, and internationally. We are aware that over the years, St. Kitts and Nevis has invested intensely in its ICT infrastructure. According to the World Bank report published earlier this year, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis was identified as a leading player in technology and digital services. The World Bank's lead ICT policy specialist, a Mr. Doyle Gallegos, commented on our country, and I quote, "We have St. Kitts which has really pushed the broadband approach," end of quote. In the ICT Development Index 2017, published by the International Telecommunications Union, St. Kitts and Nevis ranked 37 out of 176 countries, the highest ranked country in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Within the wider Caribbean, St. Kitts and Nevis ranked second only to Barbados. The St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce commends the government for its efforts toward integrating the use of ICT in the operations of the various departments and ministries. The advances that have been made by the Inland Revenue Department and the Customs and Excise Departments, amongst others, has contributed immensely towards facilitation of business and trade in the Federation. We further commend the Department of Technology and the National Technology Regulatory Commission for their work in advancing and implementing policies that will continuously improve the ICT standing of our Federation. We thank the government for the incentives made available to the private sector, designed to encourage and assist them with investing in the necessary hardware and software that will keep them current, relevant, and allow them to improve the efficiency of their operations. I must say, however, the cost of our telecommunication services still has further to go toward being more competitive if we are to effectively conduct business globally, as we are expected to do. Before I end my brief remarks, I must touch on an issue that is dear to the private sector, and I can say without equivocation, to the government as well. It is the World Bank Ease of Doing Business ranking. St. Kitts and Nevis is ranked 140 among 190 economies in the Ease of Doing Business ranking, according to the latest World Bank annual ratings. The rank of St. Kitts and Nevis deteriorated to 140 in 2018 from 134 in 2017. Ease of doing business in St. Kitts and Nevis averaged about 107 between the years of 2008 to 2018, over that 10-year period, reaching an all-time low of 140 where we are in 2018, and a record high of 70 in 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not good. We have been losing ground. What I believe is that when we had a good ranking, we relaxed and others passed us. Now then, it is imperative that we catch up and stay up. According to the World Bank report, Doing Business 2019 covered 11 areas of business regulation. 10 of these areas, and I list them: starting a business, dealing with construction permits, getting electricity, registering property, getting credit, protecting minority investors, paying taxes, trading across borders, enforcing contracts, and resolving insolvency are included in the Ease of Doing Business score and Ease of Doing Business ranking. The Ease of Doing Business Index ranks countries against each other based on how the regulatory environment is conducive to business operation and strong protection of property rights. The main areas that continue to weigh down on the efforts made by some of our government departments to improve their operations are four in numbers. 1, for registering property, we are listed at 185 out of 90. For getting credit, 161 out of 190. For protecting minority investors, 122 out of 190. And for resolving insolvency issues, 168 out of 190. We must fix this urgently if we are to compete globally and to attract investment into the Federation. This is long overdue. Being ranked at 185 out of 190 to register property in 2019 is unacceptable by all standards. The private sector is prepared to work with the public sector to improve this and the other areas that we must address. I am aware of the seriousness that the government attached to this issue. I recall at our last consultation with the Prime Minister at government headquarters, at his instruction, a committee comprising high-level government officials and chamber representatives was to be established with the sole objective of advising on improving our ranking. We are confident that once this initiative gets underway, it will bear fruit. I thank the Ministry of Finance for inviting the Chamber of Commerce to make an input in this process, and I wish us all a successful national consultation on the economy. I thank you.